From the Blues Hotel Collective, welcome to Blues Moments in Time, where every groove holds a memory and every moment echoes the truth of what came before. Today, we rewind the reel, trace the footsteps, and revisit the chapters that shaped the blues. Here is our host, Kelvin Huggins. Hey, y'all. This is Rufus Tate here. I'll be filling in for Kelvin for the next few episodes. Welcome to Blues Moments in Time, the podcast dedicated to exploring the rich history and cultural significance of blues music. Today, we focus on the events of February 28th. Let's get into it. The cultural landscape on February 28th, 1943, Broadway lit up with a story rooted in black Southern life. A new production of Porgy and Bess opened, starring Anne Brown and Todd Duncan. Though it was an opera, its heartbeat came from spirituals, work songs, early jazz, and the blues. It put African-American characters, language, and music on a major New York stage at a time when segregation still ruled much of American life. For blues history, that matters. Porgy and Bess helped make black stories and black sound worlds more visible to mainstream audiences. It widened the cultural doorway that later blues and R&B artists would walk through when they stepped onto bigger stages, from integrated clubs to television and international tours. Jump ahead to February 28, 1959, and the culture of listening itself is shifting. Cashbox magazine introduces a red bullet symbol to mark the records moving fastest up the charts. That little graphic, with a bullet, becomes industry shorthand for heat, momentum, and buzz. It might seem like a small design tweak, but it helped spotlight breakout singles, including blues-rooted and R&B records, shaping which artists labels pushed and which songs radio programmers took a chance on. Now, let's turn to the political climate. On February 28, 1967, in Mississippi, 19 men were indicted for the 1964 murders of civil rights workers James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner. It had taken years of pressure to reach even this partial step toward accountability. For blues musicians, especially those who grew up in the Deep South, this wasn't abstract news. It was part of the same system of fear and violence that had shaped their childhoods, their migration north, and the dangers of touring on segregated highways. The indictments didn't end that system, but they signaled that federal power could sometimes crack the shield of local impunity. The blues of this era carries that tension: hope and anger, resilience and grief, all vibrating under the surface of the songs. Of course, no discussion of blues history would be complete without exploring the music itself. On February 28, 1958, Chuck Berry walked into a studio and recorded Johnny B. Good. Built on a 12-bar blues framework, driven by a stinging guitar riff and a tale of a poor country boy with a guitar, the song became one of the defining anthems of rock and roll. Listen closely, and you hear the blues everywhere. The bent notes, the call and response between voice and guitar, the rhythmic snap that traces back to T-Bone Walker and Muddy Waters. Yet, Johnny B. Good didn't stay in the Chitlin circuit. It climbed the pop charts and eventually rode a spacecraft into deep space on the Voyager Golden Record. On this one February day, the language of the blues was etched a little deeper into global popular culture. This date also marks the birth of several influential blues figures. On February 28, 1939, John Fahey was born in Tacoma Park, Maryland. Decades later, he'd be known as a mysterious, fiercely independent guitarist who stitched together country blues 78s, folk melodies, and classical forms into a new solo guitar language. Fahey wasn't just inspired by blues, he hunted it down. He scoured thrift stores and junk shops for old shellac records, tracked down forgotten musicians, and helped reissue early Delta and country blues sides. In doing so, he preserved crucial pieces of the tradition and reshaped how a new generation heard artists like Charlie Patton. His own recordings translated blues feeling into long, meditative instrumentals, proof that the blues could be both deeply traditional and radically personal. 3 years later to the day, on February 28, 1942, Brian Jones was born in Cheltenham, England. As a founding member of the Rolling Stones, Jones became one of the key British conduits for Chicago and Delta blues. Early Stones sets leaned heavily on Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Jimmy Reed, and others, with Jones's slide guitar and harmonica carrying those sounds into packed clubs and, eventually, stadiums. Through Jones and the Stones, countless young listeners in Britain, Europe, and beyond discovered the blues, often working backward from rock hits to the original records by Black American artists. His February 28th birth is a reminder of how the blues traveled, from Mississippi juke joints to London basements, and then out into the wider world. And finally, we remember those we lost on this date. On February 28, 2026, the blues world said goodbye to John Hammond, sometimes billed as John Hammond Jr. Over more than 60 years, Hammond dedicated himself to performing and recording traditional blues, often as a solo acoustic act. He championed the songs of Robert Johnson, Muddy Waters, and other early masters, keeping their repertoires alive in clubs, festivals, and on record. Hammond also built bridges, working with rock musicians, appearing on big stages, and showing that the old Delta material could still hit hard in a modern context. His passing on this date marks the loss of a living link between the first generation of recorded blues and today's audiences. But his records remain a roadmap for anyone wanting to feel that connection. That's all for today's episode of Blues Moments in Time. Join us next time as we continue to explore the remarkable history of the blues.